The Los Angeles Clippers have two of the most frequent names that we're going to drop on this podcast. Kenrich Williams, just because they're a team that's, Serge Ibaka, after being injured, is now in health and safety protocols. They do have Zubats, who's great. But they have Isaiah Hartenstein, so that's good. But they still kind of like to play small or have to play small for certain stretches. Kenrich Williams can help you there, along with Marcus Morris Sr. He's not. I do think they need someone who could elevate the offense. So these names that I have are actually more important. Eric Gordon for them. His name is going to come up a bunch. And he'll put more pressure on the rim for them. They can use someone
which
who
has
can
been a long-standing weakness for this team, just the inability to get to the free throw line consistently to put pressure on the basket.
It doesn't matter when you have Kawhi and Paul George, but when you only have one of them,
right,
it does become a problem.
Or when you have zero of them, as has been the case a little bit too frequently this season.
Right. I have Jeremy Lamb, won't put pressure on the basket, but I also the Clippers just don't have a ton of, they can't move imminent first round picks. I don't even know if they can move a first round pick. If they do, I think it's in 2028 or 2029. So yeah, they have a 2026 first owed to OKC. So you would have first allowable would be 2028. That's just not going to interest a ton of teams. Is Jeremy Lamb someone you could get for salary because the Pacers don't seem to want him? He's hit his threes. He'll get to his spot in the mid-range. Just to have look, their offense has not been good this year. So to have a different type of score. And the last two names I'll go through really quickly, and you can respond to all of them. I'm just curious as to what Kemba Walker would cost to get out of New York. He was out of the rotation. Health and safety protocols put him back in Boston. He had a good game.
Looked
I
really
fall
good.
somewhere. People will accuse me of not watching the Knicks by saying this. I think Fournier should have been benched over Kemba Walker. I also don't think either decision was the solution to what's ailing this team. They are. I was doing report cards, and I gave them a D-. I think that's a spoiler, but this will be out when the report cards are out. So I gave them a D-. I considered giving them an F. So I have Kemba Walker on the lower end. Bryn Forbes would probably go a long way for this team. And now that I'm thinking through it, so go with me. And I don't think the Knicks would do it, but I'm at the point. Julius Randle might have been a flash in the pan. I'm there. You look at the percentages. He's coming off a couple okay games. I get that the percentages needs to drop. The defense is gone. Maybe he was burnt out from last season. They extended him, and I said this, I believe, this isn't a victory lap because we both ultimately claimed, yeah, you give him that extension because of how he played. I clearly was too optimistic about his regression. We both knew he was going to regress. I clearly just thought he was still going to be really good. Would you, if you could get Bledsoe, who's basically an expired, would you trade him for expiring salary at this point?
No, I think you're being a little too harsh on him. There are a lot of things ailing the Knicks right now. It is not a roster built to maximize his talents at the moment. He's still putting up 20, 10, and 5 on a nightly basis. Granted, because he has such a high volume role, the three-pointers haven't been falling. There have been some more turnover issues. His defense hasn't been great. He hasn't looked like an all-NBA player. He's still been good in a situation that is not designed to maximize his effectiveness and is designed to put too much of a burden on him. So I think we're erring a little too far in the overreaction area there.
I'm going to take that as an insult, but he would be a good fit for the Clippers.
It was.
And they could get to the salary matching pretty easy. I don't know how you would sweeten that deal for New York. So this is not, I'm not trying to crap all over Julius Randle. I just don't think he's been good enough. And now I'm looking at the rest of that extension if I'm the Knicks, and I'm like, we always knew
it's not ideal for sure.
We didn't have the best. This is me speaking as the Knicks. I'm not using we as a fan. If I'm the Knicks, I'm thinking we knew we didn't have best player on a championship team material, but now it's sort of like, oh, this guy needs to be the 3 or the 4. This isn't number 2 material either. That's just what I've taken away from this season. And that's
I feel like it looks a lot different, though, if Quickly grows. If RJ Barrett had taken the strides that we expected him to make going into this season. If Mitchell Robinson has been able to have a more scalable role. It's just everything has gone wrong.
Fuck
for the
Mitchell
Knicks.
Robinson. Oh my God. I would say that all he's doing is cardio out there, but that's an insult to people who actually do cardio. He's been nightmarishly bad.
But how much has that opinion changed since we were heading into this season? Because I think you were on the same camp as me, where we were excited about seeing what he could do with a bigger role.
Yeah. And I think he can still do more. I just don't know what's going on with him this year.
I think that Randall is more a symptom than the cause here.
I don't think he's the cause. I just think the Knicks, there was a misread on their situation from all of us. And look, there was a misread heading into last season. We thought they were going to suck. If I'm the Knicks, I'm stripping it down and playing the youth. And maybe that means that I should have listed Alec Burks for a bunch of teams, but he's been so good. him, either he or Rose would be good for LA, the Clippers. I just don't think they have the assets to get them. Julius Randle was interesting because I'm at the point where, because of the extension, are you just
I get it? Yeah. I get it for sure, but I do like Kemba as a target here. I think that's the one I would pursue, just given the Knicks' lack of desire to work him into their rotation and only doing so out of necessity. I can't imagine the price tag is that high.
Yeah, I mean, and he makes like the medium salary now. He's sub 9 million, so it's easier to get there. And he has the player option, so maybe they want that off their books. I'd just be curious as to what the cost would be. I'm sure the Clippers, if we're just going to name Knicks, they might be able to get Evan Fournier. I'm not sure, but I think the Knicks would be okay with Evan Fournier. The idea of Evan Fournier would help not only the Clippers, but also the Knicks. Actual Evan Fournier, not so much.